So after Teddy Roosevelt was president, Teddy Roosevelt went after monopolies. He helped protect the environment. He tried to improve the lives of a lot of Americans. He was a war hero. He sort of handpicked his successor, whose name was William Howard Taft. And we're going to talk in this lecture about William Howard Taft, the president after him, who was Woodrow Wilson, and a woman's right to vote. So one thing you need to know about Taft is that Taft loved being in public service, but he didn't necessarily love being a politician. His wife was really driven for him to be president and liked him to do these kind of things. He was a lawyer who really wanted to be a Supreme Court justice, and he eventually was a Supreme Court justice and was much happier. But during this time, he was picked to be the successor of Teddy Roosevelt. And he did. He ran on the progressivism that Teddy Roosevelt started. He ran because he was going to continue the efforts to protect the environment, to make the lives of the poor better, to be a pro-worker president who would help with the unions. The problem was a lot of people didn't think he was doing as much as Roosevelt did. And this left some openings. He had been involved in some minor controversies, which also tarnished his presidency. The Republican Party, which was Teddy Roosevelt's party, unified behind Teddy Roosevelt, became divided during the Taft presidency, with the old guard, who was happy with a pro-business president who would move slowly, really judiciously, and the progressives in the party, who liked the way Teddy Roosevelt saw a problem, went out and tackled it head first. And this led to a split in the Republican Party. In the election of 1912, you had the progressive Republicans, who Teddy Roosevelt came out of retirement to run a new party called the Bull Moose Party. And it was all about continuing the work that President Roosevelt had started. He'd been president for 8 years. He was going to run for president again, but this time as a member of a third party, not a Democrat or Republican, but from the Bull Moose Party. And he was going to give women the right to vote, something he tried to do but couldn't get done while he was president. Same thing with banning child labor, creating an 8-hour workday. He was going to go after all these issues that he felt he wanted to get done but couldn't get done when he was president before. The Taft Republicans, they were telling everybody, hey, we're progressive too. We're just going to be more careful about it. And of course, Teddy Roosevelt was a man of action, not a man of sitting back and thinking about it. He wanted to go out and get these things done. For the Democrats, you had Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow Wilson, who you see on the left here, had been a governor, and before that was an economist. He was very progressive. And there was another party running at the time, a socialist party, which their presidential nominee was a man named Eugene V. Debs, who was from Indiana. Here you see him speaking. Eugene V. Debs lost the race. The Republicans split the Republican vote in two between the Bull Moose Party and the Republican Party, and that allowed the Democrats to win the election, and Woodrow Wilson got the election. Here you see at the top right, you see Wilson taking office, and William Howard Taft doesn't look upset at all not to be president anymore, because I don't think he liked being president. President Wilson, who you see here throwing out a pitch in the World Series, and Andrew Carnegie, the second richest man in America, down here is sitting next to him. Woodrow Wilson wanted to lower tariffs to increase the amount of imports and exports that came through the United States. He was going to raise money through something new that was called an income tax. You would be taxed on the money that you made in the workplace. He created something called the Clayton Antitrust Act, which aggressively went after these monopolies, or what they called trusts back then. He created the Federal Reserve System, which required banks to save some money and put it aside in case you would need it some other day. It's kind of a rainy day fund. Put money in reserve. We still have a Federal Reserve System. He was very progressive. He went after, in his first 10 days of office, child labor and changed those laws, making it completely illegal in some places to have child labor. But during this time, the economy improved and the progressive era winded down a little bit. And we will talk about the woman's right to vote in the next part of the lecture.